postpartum bleeding. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalam ala ashraf al-anbiya wal mursaleen. Nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Allahumma anfa'na bima 'allamtana wa 'allimna ma yanfa'una. Allahumma zidna 'ilman innaka anta 'alimul hakim. Allahumma ij'al hadhihi al-muhadara hujjatan lana la hujjatan 'alayna ya rabbil 'alamin. Amma ba'd. This is the last part and continuation of Zaad Al-Mustaq'ni from Imam Al-Hajjawi, rahimahullah ta'ala. This is the last part dealing with Kitab Al-Hayd, or Bab Al-Hayd, malish, Bab Al-Hayd, the menstruation, or the cycle of the menses for the women. This is the last part of it. Before we finish up that last part, we mentioned last week there were 9 things that were muharram upon a woman when she has her menses. We'll just mention them briefly. Number 1, as-salat. Number 1, as-salat. Number 2, as-sawm, fasting. Number 3, at-tawaf. Number 3, at-tawaf. Number 4, qira'atul Qur'an, reciting the mushaf. Number 5, mashul mushaf, touching the mushaf. Number 6, al-lubthu fil masjid, sitting in the masjid. Number 7, al-wat'u fil farj, having intercourse. Number 8, at-talaq, divorce. Divorce is impermissible while a woman is in her menses. And the 9th one is al-i'tida bil-ashhur. A woman who gets her menses, her iddah cannot be with months. It can only be with her menstruation cycle, no matter how long it takes. Last week we spoke about the mubtada'a. The mubtada'a is a woman who, or a child or a woman who first or initially gets her menses, her menses. Today, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to discuss the mustahaba. Is anyone familiar with al-mustahaba? The term mustahaba. Have you ever heard this before? طيب. No one's familiar with the mustahaba? No. Did we talk about it before? You don't think so?
Yeah, it was mighty man in the class.
طيب. So we're going to start reading from Zaad Al-Mustaq'ni, Zaad Al-Mustaq'ni, from a Sheikh Al-Hajjawi, Imam Al-Hajjawi. He starts off by saying, Al-Mustahadatu Al-Mu'tadatu. Al-Mustahada is a woman who gets her menses, but she bleeds longer than the allotted time for the menstruation cycle. What's the longest time that a woman can have her menses, that is considered her menses? Did we discuss this before? We did. What is the longest time that a woman can have her menses, 15 days. Ahsant. 15 days. So, the longest time a woman can, and this is according to the fiqh of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Okay? Someone may read in a different school of fiqh, a school of thought, and say, no. They say it's 3 weeks, or they say it's 1 week, or to the end of it, and they all have their evidences, so on and so forth. So it says, وَالْمُسْتَحَاضَةُ الْمُعْتَادَةُ. Al-Mustahada al-Mu'tada. A woman, now we're going to be talking about something new. We're not talking about women who is the first time they're getting their menses. La. We're not talking about those women. We're talking about a woman who already knows when her menses comes every month. She knows when her menses come every month, and she's mustahaba, and she bleeds excessively. Yani she bleeds more than the allotted time. So for example, a sister may get her menses for usually 7 days, but she bleeds for a month, 3 weeks. But she knows the time of the month, every month that her menses comes on, but she's just bleeding for other reasons. Right. So then, right now we're talking about a woman who bleeds longer than the allotted time for the menses. Another description here is she knows the days in which her bleeding consists of her menses period. Does that make sense? Huh? Right. The third part here is that it is what? The third part here is that it is mumayyiz. Yani it's mumayyiz, meaning the blood is distinguishable. She can distinguish the blood. So we have 3 characteristics we just mentioned about a woman who gets her menses and she already had her menses. Number 1, she is mustahada. What is mustahada? A woman that bleeds longer than the allotted time that has been agreed upon by the school of Imam Ahmed, and that is 15 days. Number 2, she is a woman who bleeds excessively, but she knows which of those days are her normal days for bleeding. For example, her menses usually comes on the 1st of every month. She's bleeding for 20 days. She knows that from the 1st to the 6th is usually her menses. Usually. She knows this. But she's bleeding up until 21 days. Every month now. It's something new. Okay? But in this case, the Shaykh Rahimahullah, he says, وَالْمُسْتَحَاضَةُ الْمُعْتَادَةُ. Al-mustahada, a woman that bleeds excessively. Al-mu'tadatu is a woman who has and knows her time in which her menses comes. And in addition to that, her blood is distinguishable. She can determine or distinguish between the different colors, whether it's dark, red, or light, or to the end of it. What do you determine to be her menses? The mere fact that she knows her actual time, or are we going to use whether the blood is distinguishable or not? If you paid attention in the previous 2 classes, this would make sense. If you weren't paying attention, then this may not make sense. So in this case, if a woman knows her time every month, but she is bleeding excessively or continuously, in this case, as the Sheikh says, وَلَوْ مُمَيِّزَةٌ تَجْلِسُ عَادَتَهَا. If she is, even if the blood is distinguishable, she sits for the 6 days. Usually her menses is the first 6 days of every month. Then she will sit the first 6 days. And what do we mean when we say sit? What does that mean? Does anyone know? She sits for 6 days. What does that mean? She doesn't walk? Ahsant. She doesn't pray and or fast. She doesn't pray and or fast. So when they say sit for these days, this is what this is referring to. She doesn't pray and or fast. But so then the Shaykh Rahimahullah, he says, وَإِن نَسِيَتْهَا. إِن نَسِيَتْهَا. Yani, this same woman, now she forgets the days that her menses was usually on. Does that make sense? Look at the scenario. There's a woman who usually knows when her menses comes on, but she's bleeding all the time now. She's not sure. Was it the 1st to the 6th? Or was it the 3rd to the 9th? She's confused. She doesn't know. Was it the beginning of the month or was it the middle of the month? She's confused because she's bleeding so much now that she forgot when was her actual days that she had her menses on. In this case, and in addition to that, she's able to distinguish between the blood. She's able to distinguish, this is called tamyiz as-salih. A tamyiz as-salih, yani, it means that she is able to clearly distinguish the different types of blood. From the black thick blood, or the dark colored blood, she's able to distinguish that from that which is light and not that dark, obviously. So she's able to distinguish between the two. So they say in this case, in nasiyatha amilat bitamyiz as-salih. If she forgot her normal time in which she has her days for the menses, then she will use tamyiz as-salih. She will try to determine based on the color of the blood. Is that clear? Right. So then so far we mentioned two scenarios, right? What's the first scenario? I'm sorry?
Normal days. Normal 6 days.
Ahsan. She sits her normal days if she knows her normal days. Right? Mumtaz. The second one was what? What is the second one? She what? So the second one, she forgot the days. She wasn't sure. Was it the beginning of the month? Was it the middle of the month? Was it the end of the month that she gets her menses? She forgot. Right? So now what does she do? She uses tamyiz as-salih. Tamyiz as-salih, it means she's able to distinguish between the colors of the blood. If it's dark, etc., as we mentioned before, then she uses those days in which the blood is dark, etc., and use that for her days for menses. And as for the other days, then they are not considered her menses. Is that clear? طيب. فَإِن لَمْ يَكُنْ تَمْيِيزٌ. Okay, so now this is the third scenario for the same sister. The third scenario is she's bleeding. She doesn't know what time her usual menses is during the month. And lastly, she does not have any distinguishing factor while looking at the blood. What does she do? What does she do? Does anyone know? طيب. So the ulama mentions in this case, فَغَالِبُ الْحَيْدِ. Then she will sit that which is ghalib, that which is more likely to be the days for her menses, and that's 6 to 7 days of every month. Is that clear? If she doesn't have any distinguish, then she still has to sit 6 or 7 days, and as some of the ulama even mentioned, she has to sit from the beginning of the month. From the beginning, or when she first sees blood. Is that clear? Right. And then he mentions كَالْعَامِلَةِ بِمَوْضُعِهِ النَّاسِيَةِ لِعَدَدِهِ. And then they mention this. This is as if a woman, she forgets the same situation goes if a woman forgets the part of the month that her menses is on. If she forgets the part of the month, the beginning of the month, the middle of the month, the end of the month. Or maybe, as we mentioned before, she forgets the number of days. Maybe it was 3 days, maybe it was 4 days, her menses was on, she wasn't sure, she forgot. So in this case, it says the same ruling applies. If she forgets the place in which the month that it happens, or she forgets the number of days, then she will still have to sit those 6 or 7 days, and also is to be done at the beginning of the month. وَإِنْ عَلِمَتْ عَدَدَهُ وَنَسِيَتْ مَوْضُعِهِ مِنَ الشَّهْرِ وَلَوْ فِي نِصْفِهِ جَلَسَتْهَا مِنْ أَوَّلِهِ كَمَنْ لَا عَادَةَ لَهَا وَلَا تَمْيِيزٍ. So then he mentions here and clarifies it. وَإِنْ عَلِمَتْ عَدَدُهُ. Say, for example, she knows the number of days. She says, every month my menses comes on for 6 days. She knows for sure that her menses comes on for how many days? 6 days, every single month. لكنها نسيت موضوعه أو موضوعه. She forgot the place or the time in the month when her menses happen. So she says, you know what? My menses is 7 days every month. I know it's 7 days every month, but was it the beginning of the month? Was it the middle of the month? Or was it the end of the month? She forgot. So in this case, it says, even if it was the middle of the month, she will, even if she figures out later on, or she thinks it's the middle of the month, she has to start at the beginning of the month. She has to start at the beginning of the month. She has to start at the beginning of the month and use the first time she starts bleeding, and that represents the beginning of her menses. And this is similar to the one who is just starting out getting their menses. Is that clear? So then we mentioned 3 scenarios here. Who remembers those 3 scenarios? What type of woman are we talking about first? Who can tell me?
excessively.
One who bleeds excessively. What is considered excessive bleeding?
Longer than 14 days.
Longer than 15 days. Longer than 15 days. Right, Mumtaz. Is she a woman that's new to having her menses?
No.
Or she had her menses before?
One who had his menses before.
Ahsan. Then she is considered mu'tada. The next description here, she is mumayyiz. Yani she can distinguish between the colors. First case we had, a woman that can distinguish between the colors, but she knows the days in which her menses comes on. What do we use? Do we use the color to distinguish, to determine her menses? Or do we use what she already knows to be her menses? Which one do we use? What she knows to be her menses. Mumtaz. The second one. What was the second one? Huh? The second one was what? She forgot what?
She forgot when it comes on.
Huh?
She forgot when it starts.
Like, she forgot the number of days. She forgot the number of days. Was it 4 days? Was it 5 days? Or 6 days? She's not sure how many days. So in this case, she returns back to the what? What does she use? Huh? The color. Ahsant. And the third one was what? There's a woman that doesn't have any way to distinguish. Huh? And then she doesn't know. What does she use? She'd use 6 or 7 days. Because this is what's common for every person, every woman that has a menses. The usual time is 6 to 7 days. Is that clear? Right. As some of the ulama say, that was the hard part. Now we're going to get, everything now is downhill. Right. So then they mention, it says, وَمَنْ زَادَتْ عَادَتُهَا أَوْ نَقَصَتْ أَوْ تَأَخَّرَتْ فَمَا تَقَرَّرَ ثَلَاثًا فَحَيْضٌ. So for example, a woman, she increased in a number of days. Say for example, her menses used to be 4 days every month. Then added to 5 days. Right? The next month, once she continues to do this every month, 3 months, as they mentioned in the madhab by Imam Ahmed, if it's consecutive for 3 months, then that extra day now is what? Is part of her menses. Right? Counts as her menses. Likewise, taqaddamat. Yani, say for example, her menses comes on from the 1st or the 7th every month. Next month, it started on the 8th. Now her bleeding started from the 8th to the 14th. The month after that, 8th to 4th. So now what? Her menses cycle, it changed. Labats. The same thing if ta'akharat. Yani even if it was delayed. Before it would come on, taqaddamat. Yani it came earlier. So before it would be 14 to the 21st, it came earlier. Now it's from the 1st to the 7th. It came earlier. Same thing. 3 times every month, now we'll say her menses has changed. Likewise, lo ta'akharat. Even if it came after that, from the 14th to the 21st. At any event, whenever she bleeds and it changes every month, then that 3 months consecutively, she can say, yes, now my men's cycle, it changed. It's from this time to this time now. That's simple, right? Right. So then it says, وَمَا نَقَصَ عَنِ الْعَادَةِ طُهْرٌ مَا نَقَصَ عَنْ عَادَةِ طُهْرٌ. Say, for example, a woman, she gets her menses for 7 days every month. طيب? How many days? 7 days every month. So the first day, second day, the third day, she's bleeding. The fourth day, she stops bleeding. Is she still having her menses? Yes or no? La. La. If the fourth day comes and she stops bleeding, she makes a ghusl and she starts praying and fasting. Okay? Well, is that clear?
Is this the first time? Or?
The first time. This is what is known. That she's normal.
3 months consecutive.
No, she already knows when her menses usually comes. We're not talking about a beginner. We're talking about a woman who knows her normal mens cycle, her normal cycle. It's usually from the 1st to the 7th of every month. So she sits, she doesn't pray and fast the 1st, 2nd, 3rd. The 4th comes, she's not bleeding. She stopped bleeding. She's clean. So the ulama, they mentioned, مَا نَقَصَ عَنْ عَادَةِ طُهْرٌ. Whatever is less than her normal days, then after that, it becomes pure. So if she bled for 4 days, on the 5th day, it stopped bleeding, and she usually goes 7 days, then she's pure now. She can pray and fast. وَمَا عَادَ فِيهَا جَلَسَتْهُ. Now let's say this. First day, second day, third day, she's bleeding. Her normal days are 7 days. The fourth day, she stopped bleeding, so she prays and fasts. The fifth day, she prays and fasts. The sixth day and the seventh day, it comes back. What does she do? She stops. She sits. Yeah. She stops and this is considered her menses. But what if it came, and this is some information from last week. What if it came after 15 days? Say, for example, it started the first, she bled for 14 days. And then it went off and she started bleeding again on 3 days after that. Is that blood 3 days after that considered blood from the menses? La. What is that blood considered? Regular blood. Istihada. Blood that is not considered from the menses. Is that clear? Why is that?
Because of the period of time.
Ahsant. Because the period of time between two menstrual cycles is what? 13 days. Mumtaz. Is that clear? MashaAllah, you study. طيب. وَالصُّفْرَةُ وَالْقُدْرَةُ فِي زَمَنَ الْعَادَةِ حَيْدٌ. So, if a woman usually gets her menses from the 1st to the 7th, and during that time, let's say on the 4th, from the 4th or the 5th up to the 7th, she starts to spot like yellowish, brownish. And women know, yellowish color, brownish color. Is that still considered menses? Yes or no? Yes. It's still considered part of the menses. Why? Why is it considered part of the menses? Because it's in the time period in which she would usually be bleeding. Is that clear? طيب. It says, وَمَنْ رَأَتْ يَوْمًا دَمًا وَيَوْمًا نَقَاءً فَالدَّمُ حَيْضٌ وَالنِّقَاءُ طُهْرٌ وَلَمْ يَعْبُرْ مَا لَمْ يَعْبُرْ أَكْثَرُهُ. And it says, whoever sees, this is a rehash again, whoever sees a day during her time period of her menses, whoever sees a day where she is bleeding, and the next day she is pure, and the next day, or whatever, if you see this, for the blood during that time period is considered menses, and the purification during that time period is considered pure. As long as it does not exceed 15 days. So let's understand this. 15 days. The 1st to the 15th. She's bleeding the first few days. She stops bleeding. She's bleeding again. She stops bleeding. And she's up to 13 days, on and off, on and off. By the time it gets to 15, once it goes beyond 15, that blood after that 15-day period is not considered menstrual blood. It's considered mustahada. واضح؟ طيب. والمستحاضة ونحوها تغسل فرجها. طيب. So the next issue is, if a woman is mustahada, what is upon her? What is mustahada? If a woman bleeds excessively or consecutively for 15 days, what is upon her? What is upon her to do?
She can pray. She makes the ghusl. She can pray, and she can pray. I know that. Every time she prays, she must make wudu.
Right. So we're going to talk about that right now. وَالْمُسْتَحَاضَةُ وَنَحْوُهَا. Nahwuha yani, someone that is similar to her. What is similar? What do the ulama use as a person that is similar to a woman who bleeds excessively? What do the ulama compare that to? Does anyone know? Nobody? We spoke about it last week. Ahsant. Salatul bowl. A person who urinates consecutively. They can't control their urine. In fact, some people they have bags and they urine constantly, can't stop. The same ruling that applies to that person also applies to the woman that is mustahada, a woman that bleeds excessively. So it says, wal mustahadatu wa nahwuha taghsilu farjaha. So this woman, once she has her istihada, she should wash her private parts. Wa ta'subuhu, and she should obviously put something in place so that blood doesn't come out. It's common sense. Put something in place so that the blood does not get on anything, which is common sense. وَتَوَضَّعُوا لِوَقْتِ كُلِّ صَلَاةٍ. And she must make wudu for every prayer. She should make wudu for every prayer. وَتُصَلِّي فُرُودًا وَنَوَافِلٍ. And she should pray her sunan and her wajib prayers like this. وَلَا تُوطَأُ إِلَّا مَا خَوْفٍ. And a woman that has this situation, she should not have intercourse unless إِلَّا مَا خَوْفَ الْعَنَتِ, unless they fear, either her husband or herself, they fear mushaqqa, yani they fear that something could happen. They fear that something could happen. Maybe if not, maybe he will fornicate, maybe this, maybe that. So in this case, not that it's haram, yukrah, yani it's hated. It's not that it's haram to have intercourse with a spouse if they're mustahada. It's not haram. Lakin it's not something that's not recommended. And the ulama say it's dam, wa dam kathir. I say it's a lot of blood in this, like this, but it's not haram. Please do not mix up mustahada with hayd. Do not mix up blood from excessive bleeding from the blood that is menses. Intercourse while a woman is on her menses is muharram. It's impermissible in Islam. Lakin if a woman is bleeding but the blood is not menses blood, then it is hated, not muharram. It's not recommended, but it's not haram. واضح أنتم? Is that clear? طيب. ويستحب غسلها لكل صلاة وأكثر. طيب. It is recommended for this woman to make a ghusl for every salat. A ghusl for every salat might be difficult. It says, لأن حبيبة استحيضت فسألت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Habiba, she was one who had istihada. She bled constantly. فسألت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. So she asked the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام عن ذلك. She asked about a woman that bleeds excessively. فأمرها أن تغتسل فكانت تغتسل عند كل صلاة متفق عليه. So she asked the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام about that. What should she do? So he told her, you should, he commanded her to take a ghusl, to make a ghusl for every salat. And this is why do the ulama say that if we have a command from the Prophet ﷺ, where he told her to make a ghusl after every salat, for every salat, why then now is that ruling not considered wajib? Because, I mean, if the Prophet ﷺ commanded us to do something, then the asl, or the origin, is that it is wajib. That's the origin. In order for something to go from the ruling of being wajib to anything other than that, then there has to be something that is considered a sarif. A sarif is something that takes a ruling from its original ruling to something else. So there could have been some of the Sahaba that were in this, Sahabiyat that was in this situation, that didn't make a ghusl. وَلَمْ يُنْكِرْ عَلَيْهِ. There were some of them that possibly didn't make a ghusl, and the Prophet ﷺ didn't tell them it was impermissible, or that it was wrong, or scolded them for not doing it. Does that make sense? Like, anytime, not just with this situation, any situation. If the Prophet ﷺ commands us to do something, the origin of that command is that it is wajib. Yani, it is wajib to do it, you must do it. However, if you find companions of the Prophet ﷺ not doing something that he commanded us to do, then know that either A, doing that action is recommended. It takes that ruling from becoming wajib to becoming something that is recommended. So in this case, it would have been, it's considered recommended. The ulama say, a woman making a ghusl, when she has her menses, or when she's mustahada, when she bleeds excessively, this here is a ruling for something that is recommended. It's recommended for a woman to do it, but it's not obligatory. If she doesn't make a ghusl for every salat, she will not be punished. But if she does it, she will be rewarded. So then the next The next issue here is postpartum bleeding. Postpartum bleeding. For the ulama, he said, وَأَكْثَرُ مُدَّةَ النِّفَاسِ. The longest period for a woman. What is postpartum bleeding anyway? Before we even talk, what is that? Huh? After childbirth. Good. What happens after childbirth? She bleeds. Like, is that true? Do you agree with him? Is he telling the truth? Or you just made it up? You don't know. Like, anybody agree with him? Huh? You agree? Are you sure? Or you just saying it just to... You agree? Like, no time. So then, أكثره, يعني there is a limit, a maximum for days that a woman is bleeding after having childbirth. Does anyone know the days? No one. Are you sure? Are you guessing? You say 40. Huh? That's a lot of days? So you disagree with that, right? You disagree.
40 before she stopped praying.
You say 40 before she stops praying. Like, what about you, Shay?
Probably like 15.
You say 15. Where you get 15 from? Just you feel like it's a 15. You just feel a 15. All right. You say 45. Based on what? You might have read 45. طيب. According to Imam Ahmed, the fiqh of Imam Ahmed, it is 40 days. 40 يوما. 40 days. ومتى طهرت قبله تطهرت وصلت. If a woman, so then she is given a limit of 40 days, a maximum of 40 days. It says, وَمَتَّى طَهُرَتْ قَبْلَهُ. What if she bled for 20 days and she stopped bleeding? What happens? He says, مَتَّى طَهُرَتْ. Once she stops bleeding, قَبْلَهُ, يعني before the 40 days, تَطَهَّرَتْ وَصَلِّي. She should make a ghusl and she should pray. She should make a ghusl and she should pray. وَيُقْرَأُ وَطْءُهَا قَبْلَ 40 بَعْدَ تَطْهِيرٍ. And it is hated for a man to have intercourse with his wife if she stops bleeding before the 20 days after she makes a ghusl. Does that make sense? Do you understand what that means? No, before the 40.
Yeah, you say 20.
Say, for example, the 40 days, right? So she bled for 20 days.
No.
After 20 days, she stopped.
Right.
Right? She stopped bleeding. She made a ghusl. But from that 20 days up until that 40 days, it is not recommended for a man to have intercourse with her during that time. Not recommended. It's not haram, but it's not recommended.
We're saying even if she stopped bleeding before the 20 days, right?
I mean before the 40 days.
Before the 20 days.
Which 20 days? The second 20?
No, the first 20. You saying that the first 20 days, right, a man shouldn't have intercourse with a woman if that 20 days she stopped bleeding. So it's not recommended for a man to have intercourse with his wife before 20 days.
La. I just used 20 days for an example.
Huh?
I just used 20 days as an example. It's not recommended. Yes, it's not recommended for a man to have intercourse with his wife.
So if she stopped bleeding
30 days.
20, 30 days, still it's best to wait to 40 days.
Wait, yes. Yes. It's best to wait till 40. فإن عودها الدم فمشكوك فيه. So within that time period, if she starts bleeding, say for example, she bled for 20 days. 10 days go by, no blood. Then blood comes back again. What blood is this? Is it blood from postpartum? All right. Say for example, she bled for 20 days. She made a ghusl. She started praying. Everything's good. The last 10 days, the 30th day up until the 40th, she started bleeding again. What is that blood? There's blood from the postpartum? Fine. Anyone agree with them?
Yeah.
You agree? Anyone else? Huh?
I say yes because they said 40.
So it's from the blood of the after childbirth. Does anyone else agree? Fine.
It's because it can't be menstrual.
It can't be menstrual. Fine. So the ulama say this blood is mashkukun fi. They say this blood is doubtful. They're not sure whether this blood can either A, be from the childbirth, or B, it could be her menses. It's not certain. They don't know. So they say, in this case, the woman tasumu wa tusalli wa taqdi al-wajib. She should fast and she should pray. And once she clearly stops bleeding, once she removes herself from that time, then she should fast again to make up those days in case she shouldn't have been fasting when she fasted. Is that clear?
So what kind of the day in between the 30 and the 40?
Yes, between the 30 and the 40.
The day she started.
Let's say, for example, it's Ramadan. Well, no, I don't use Ramadan because she wouldn't be fasting anyway. But just leave it like that. Maybe she was making up days. Maybe she was making up days for fasting, and she wanted to fast. She felt like she could fast, so she stopped bleeding during that time. She's not breastfeeding the child. She's not doing anything else. She's comfortable. She's able. So in this case, she fasts. Right? She fasts. She prays. Then during those last 10 days of the 40, the blood comes back. Because we'll use Ramadan because it'll make more sense. It comes back during the last 10 days of the 40 days. Not the last 10 days of Ramadan. I'm talking about the last 10 days of the 40 days. Okay? It comes back. She's bleeding again. This blood now is doubtful. Is it minced blood? Because if it's blood from the menses, then she shouldn't pray and she shouldn't fast. No doubt. If it's blood from the childbirth, likewise, she shouldn't pray, she shouldn't fast. But what is it? So he says, when this blood comes back, if it comes back, she should fast and she should pray. Fast and pray. If the blood comes back between the 40 days, because the blood is doubtful, fast and pray. And then once the 40 days is over, then she make up those days that she fasted again. This is called taqdi al-wajib. What's wajib upon her is those days that she fasted. Why should she make those days up? Because those days that she fasted were doubtful days. Those days that she fasted, that blood really could have been her menses. Huh? It really could have been her menses. It really could have been. It's possible that blood could have been blood from istihada, blood from an injury, blood from something else that is not from what? Not from the fast or not from menses. Well, does that make sense? But why? Why what? Why what? I didn't hear your question.
I mean, once you see blood coming out between the 10 and the last 10, so why she can stop praying and later on?
Why should she? Why didn't she stop praying? The question is not clear.
This is the last 10 days.
The last 10 days of what?
For the 40.
The last 10 days of the 40. Okay.
And she starts seeing blood.
She starts seeing blood. But she stopped bleeding. She was bleeding initially. For the first 20 days, she was bleeding and stopped. The next 10 days, she's good. No bleeding, no nothing, praying, fasting, whatever. The last 10 days, the blood came back again. This blood here is doubtful.
That's before the 40.
That's before the 40. This blood is doubtful. Is this blood from after the childbirth? Is this blood from menses? Is this blood from another bleeding? Like istihada, is that type of blood? Which blood is it? There's confusion. So the ulama say, in this case, she should still pray, still fast, and then make up those fasts, the days that she fasts, make them up again.
So within that process, you can identify the color?
It has nothing to do with the color. Now, granted, this is the fiqh of Imam Ahmed. If we look into some of the more kutub al-mutawwala, the more advanced explanations of this, then I'm sure there are differences of opinion about how to go about fixing that situation. No doubt. This is just the summary of that topic, and it's a position that is held. وَهُوَ كَالْحَيْض. And they say why? As for postpartum bleeding, They say it is similar to hayd. It is similar to hayd. It's similar to the blood from al-hayd. فيما يحل وفيما يحرم ويجب ويسقط غير العدة والبلوغ. They say that this blood is similar. If a woman is having after childbirth bleeding and or her menses is on, it takes the same ruling with regards to things that are halal. What's halal for a woman that has her menses or has postpartum bleeding? What's halal for them? For example, yastamta' min zawjiha. Yani she can still enjoy, have foreplay with her husband, so on and so forth, as long as there's no intercourse. Same thing applies for nifas. Likewise, what is muharram for a woman that has post-child birth bleeding? Is prayer is haram for the one that has her menses. Fasting is also haram. Al-talaq is haram. And intercourse is haram. For example, these are some of the things. وَمَا يَجِبُ الْغُسُلُ. Or they have to make a ghusl once they finish their bleeding. They have to make a ghusl. And likewise, a kafara bil-waqt. For example, if a man has intercourse with his wife while her menses is on, he has to pay a kafara. A kafara is a penalty, if you will. This type of penalty is said to be about 4 grams of gold that must be paid. The same ruling applies for a nifas. وَيَسْقُطُ الصَّلَاةِ. So here it says, likewise, وَيَسْقُطُ غَيْرَ الْعِدَّةِ وَالْبُلُوغِ. If a woman, what is the iddah for? Is there an iddah for a woman if she's having her postpartum bleeding? Is there a such thing for an iddah for a woman if she's bleeding after having childbirth? Is there an iddah for her?
Well, you can't.
How does that work?
You can't put her in that until the bleeding is done. Finished.
From after having childbirth.
Right.
MashaAllah. Anyone else? Any commentary on that? Right. You don't understand the question? Right. If a woman is in her in nifas, is there iddah for her? Say for example, today she's pregnant. You divorce her today while she's pregnant. Tomorrow she has the baby. What's her iddah? Listen, if a woman is pregnant, and her husband divorces her while she's pregnant and has a child tomorrow, what is her iddah? 3 menstrual periods. Anyone else? Let me say this. A woman is pregnant today, 9 months pregnant. Her husband says, you get on my nerves, you're divorced. Right? 20 minutes later, she has the baby. 20 minutes later, she has the baby. What is her iddah? What is her iddah? As-su'al wadih? The question clear? So one question is, does the talaq even count? Fine, what else?
She has an iddah.
She doesn't have it? All women have iddah. If you get a divorce. What's her iddah?
Then it will be after the baby's born.
You say after so 20 minutes?
Yeah, you said it.
So you're telling me her iddah? Wait. Just make sure you listen to what the brother said. His wife is 9 months pregnant. He's mad at her. She's mad at him. He divorces her. 20 minutes later, she has the baby. He says, you say her menses or her iddah is what?
After the baby's born.
So it's 20 minutes. Y'all, it's 20 minutes. He said the woman, she has a 20-minute iddah, and then she can get married 20 minutes after that. For example.
No, like a month, maybe.
Like a month, maybe. So listen to what he just said. Just pay attention. Listen to what the brother said very carefully. The wife is pregnant for 9 months. She's 9 months pregnant. He divorces his wife. 20 minutes later, she has the baby. 5 minutes after that, she marries someone else. So you say no, she got to wait. Okay, so she say 4 months. She has to wait until the baby. She has to wait till the breastfeed. Okay. What?
She have to wait for me, I think 40 days because she have to wait after the 40 days.
So we have a bunch of ulama here in fuqaha. They just come now. Everyone said no. There's no way that could be correct. It has to be this, this, and this.
No, we don't know.
Huh?
40 days,
So after she has a child, she has to wait 40 days.
and then
Three menstrual cycles. So that's her iddah period. Ya ikhwan.
Yeah, it's a new situation.
Ya ikhwan. May Allah bless you all. This brother here, that was the correct answer. Her iddah period is 20 minutes. On the 21st minute, she can get married to someone else. That's Islam. There's no after. Her iddah is over as soon as she has the baby. So, for example, if he divorces her at the first month of her pregnancy, her iddah is till she has that baby. 9 months, 10 months. Huh?
Then it's valid.
What's valid? Divorcing a woman while she's pregnant?
No, I'm saying she free after that.
Yes. So at 9 months, they're arguing. She's 9 months pregnant. This is why I use this scenario. She's 9 months pregnant. He's arguing with his wife. She says some things. He says some things. He says, you know what? You're divorced. She's upset. She goes into labor. 20 minutes later, has the baby. Her iddah is over. He can't take her back. And she can marry someone else on the 21st minute.
Or is that a premature baby like 6 months?
Whatever comes out of her, that represents, yes.
All right. So the bottom line, as soon as she has the child.
As soon as she has a child. That's her iddah. That's the point of this part here. The next part is al-bulugh. A woman, if she's baligh, then she's going to have her menses. Right? So in this case, if a woman is having postpartum bleeding, she obviously reached bulugh. She obviously reached the age of discernment. Does that make sense? The next issue is وَإِنْ وَلَدَتْ تَوْأَمَيْنِ. If a woman has birth, if she gives birth to twins. If a woman gives birth to twins. فَأَوَّلُ النِّفَاسِ وَآخِرَهُ مِنْ أَوَّلِهِمَا. Let's say, for example, a woman she has twins. She's pregnant with twins. She gives birth to one twin today. The other twin didn't come out yet for another day or two. When does her nifas start? With the first one or with the second one? Nifas is postpartum bleeding. When does her postpartum bleeding start? With the first child that came or the second one?
The first child.
With the first child. The reason why these issues are mentioned, because there could be a lot. Maybe the brother divorced her. And she gave birth to one. He's like, all right, no, she's like, it's over. He's like, nah, you still got another child in there. No. As soon as a child comes out, that's it. Well, there. But with that, we just finished, by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Kitab al-Tahara. It took us, I believe, 18 classes to finish Kitab al-Tahara from Zaad Al-Mustaq'ni. It's complete. And now we're going to start next week, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, Kitab al-Salat. Abu Sajid, may Allah preserve him, he's been going over Kitab al-Salat from Durus al-Muhimma. This Kitab al-Salat from Zaad Al-Mustaq'ni is a bit more extensive and a bit more detailed. It's a bit more detailed. Inshallah ta'ala, if everyone was following his class with Kitab al-Salat, it should give you a nice sound introduction before you get into Kitab al-Salat from Zaad Al-Mustaq'ni. Any questions? طيب. With that, we're going to finish. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.